my online dating horror show. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. No, this isn't my online dating horror show. I don't use online dating. I did many years ago, and it proved both fruitful and entertaining for the playing of games. More about that on another occasion. Here, it is the perspective of an individual that went to online dating and found out that it was not to her liking. I have counselled you against the use of online dating, principally because it is a playground for my kind and also many people who ultimately will waste your time. But here's another example of why online dating is not something that you, as an empathic individual, should be engaging in, both in terms of the disappointments that occur, but also the risk that you're exposing yourself to. The relevant journalist, who is now 47 years old, makes reference to when she entered online dating 20 years ago. She explains that internet dating was not always normal. In 2003, only losers and weirdos would be found looking for a partner online. She says she dated them. In a period of my life I like to call the dark days, she explains, between 2000 and about 2007, long after the school boyfriend but before the husband, I was living in London and working in magazines. Beery lad culture, chronicled by Loaded magazine and soundtracked by Ocean Colour Scene, had given way to a sexier, grubbier aesthetic, firmly headquartered in London. Boys were skinny, girls skinnier. Boozers still had jukeboxes and fag machines and stayed open late. The streets were paved with vodka and cocaine, and the in-store radio station of the big top shop on Oxford Street played the Libertines on repeat. If you wanted to fit in and cop off, which everyone did, you better make like Kate Moss in the Rimmel ads and get the London look. The author of the piece then explains that she put in various efforts to try and get a boyfriend in a conventional way, but it didn't lead to anything. And thus, she explained that she had a few brief relationships with men, a painter, nice at first, then mean, a journalist who was boring, and a TV executive, funny but horrible. She explained that she enjoyed the flirting but never the sex, and drank heavily all of the time. Still, proper girls had boyfriends, so I kept at it. She explained that what she thought she ought to do is try online dating. So she lowered her expectations, dispensed with her pride, cranked up the internet and logged on to Match.com. She goes on to state, online dating was sliding doors meets Squid Game. Every question was a test, every answer a gamble. And that's before you went on any dates. Building an online dating profile required messianic levels of self-knowledge. Setting aside the sexual orientation question, which Match.com reasonably assumed users found fairly easy to get right, there were, after all, only 3 available options in those days. The rest of the form was a seemingly endless list of weirdly specific questions. The website design was wall-to-wall sun-drenched snuggling couples, taunting users with the hope of a happy ending. As I've explained to you before, sites such as this want you to believe that you can get a happy relationship when all they're really interested in is ensuring that you're paying money. Of course, they dangle the prospect of such a relationship in front of you. The journalist continues by explaining that from my rented room in Peckham, I approached the task as I would a Rubiks Cube. How hard would it be to cheat this game? I sank 2/3 of a bottle of Jacob's Creek and sweatily set about trying to second-guess the scientifically proven matching system. I ticked, then unticked, then ticked again traits like sporty, outdoorsy and buckish, with a blossoming sense of dread that the slightest slip would result in the tech romance overlords matching a better-looking version of me with my future husband, robbing me of my one chance of happiness. The following morning I read my profile back and tried to recognise myself in the answers. Likes, wine, pop music, shopping. Dislikes, dogs, ironing. It would have to do. Martin looked like Professor Yaffle from Bagpuss, mercifully tall, but wearing ironed ankle-scuffer jeans and the kind of shiny striped shirt you only ever saw in carpeted nightclubs. I went to meet him because there was a kindliness to his messages, and because he said the Stone Roses' eponymous debut was the best album ever, which is correct. In Green Park M&S, I cringed as he selected a bottle of Sticky Zinfandel to drink in the park, suddenly understanding the meaning of the phrase pity shag. His industrious approach to conversation making was laudable and rare, bless him. Perhaps sensing that my heart was breaking, he's played his joker. Don't say I told you, but I'm actually a spy. We didn't have a second date. Now, that individual doesn't show any particular indicators of being a narcissist. It was just a simple fact that it didn't work. Next, she moves on to Rob, who apparently looked like a withered Phil Mitchell, if Phil Mitchell had been an advertising agency executive instead of a car mechanic. For those of you who don't know, Phil Mitchell's a character in a popular soap in the United Kingdom called EastEnders. Wearing a grey cashmere pullover and carrying a Freitag record bag, he took me for dinner in a damp-smelling Soho bistro with only one toilet. I was just about to start teasing him about his ludicrous job title, President of America, when I realised that a woman I worked with had made the same joke about her new boyfriend, whom she was taking to meet her parents that weekend. I rang another friend from the loo to confirm my deduction was correct. Thing is, Rob, I said before he got the chance to order a pudding, they don't call it the London Media Village for nothing. You might want to tell Mel you're dating other women. Now, this individual is engaging in infidelity. He has a relationship, but he's dating other individuals, and he got caught out, if this story, of course, is accurate. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's a narcissist, but it is a particularly strong red flag, because he's acting with a sense of entitlement without any emotional empathy for his girlfriend, that he has the boldness of dating other individuals. Accordingly, it may well be the case that that individual, Rob, was a narcissist, or it's a possibility that he was a normal or narcissistic, because they also may cheat in certain circumstances. But nevertheless, it demonstrates that another individual that she picked up off online dating turned out to be someone who was cheating and wasn't a good fit for her. Next, it's Dan from Burnley. Tall and brown-eyed, he worked at a vaguely famous indie record label and wore a yellow slim fit t-shirt with a chopper cycle on the front. He'd burned me a copy of a recently released EP by a band I'd almost heard of when we met outside the King's Head on Upper Street in Islington. We spent the evening judging people in the pub and congratulating ourselves on being right about everything. There was a bit of sloppy kissing at the bus stop, but I had the wherewithal to go back to mine on my own. Waiting for me the next morning was a flirty email from Dan, a good sign surely, nestling in my inbox next to my Daily Matches email. Second on the list of the day's offerings was a clean-shaven, plummy-looking chap in a royal blue fleece, David, a corporate lawyer whose interests included rambling and cricket. I zoomed in on David's profile picture. David looked like Dan. Exactly like Dan. I scrolled down the list. Ed, a leather-clad biker who kept exotic pets and liked Metallica, looked like Dan too. Ed was Dan. Dan was David. He had bought costumes and built profiles for 5 or 6 boyfriend types, indie boy, posh boy, rock boy. The scientifically proven matching system hoovered them all up and sent them to me. I did not reply to that morning after email. Again, if this story is accurate, that individual may well have been a narcissist. The fact that he has created 6 different personas shows the chameleon-like nature of the narcissist. It's also that, in effect, he's lying to the people that he's engaging with because he's none of those things. He is creating an image. Of course, there's the possibility that he might be a normal or narcissistic, but there's a strong possibility that that individual was a narcissist. Notice also that there was a flirty follow-up email pretty quickly after the date, which might have been a hoover of a benign nature seeking control. Next there was Pete, a handsome youth worker in his 40s with salt and pepper hair and Adidas gazelles, cooked the author a Nigel Slater sausage casserole before telling her he was a recovering heroin addict. I didn't mind that, everyone has a past, but I was less keen when he went on to reassure me that he wouldn't let his new baby daughter ruin this for us, and that I wouldn't even notice she exists. Again, that possibly is an individual showing a narcissistic behaviour as a consequence of the fact that he wouldn't let his daughter ruin the relationship, i.e. he's relegating the needs of his daughter to that of his in nature of a relationship. Then there was Sam, a gentle, nervous maths professor, invited me to his birthday party where he drank so many aftershot shots he barfed on the floor of the pub. The only one I ever stood up, a lawyer called James, turned out to be the best. Not only did he accept my apology for leaving him hanging at Embankment Tube on our first attempt at a meet-up, we actually quite liked each other, and for a few years I was his reliable no-commitment +1 for black tie work events when he couldn't get a proper date. We're still in touch on LinkedIn. Tinder launched in the UK in 2012. Poor old Guardian soulmates limped on until conceding defeat in 2020. Match.com is still going strong, with 3 million users in the UK alone. I do wonder, writes the journalist, how the losers and weirdos find love now that dating apps are clogged up with popular, attractive people. But you can't blame dating apps for everything. Life was a show long before Tinder. Everybody has always lied about who they are to themselves and each other. You can't box tick your way to love. There is no scientifically proven matching system. The great privilege of love, even platonic love, is getting to peel back the layers of carefully constructed artifice that make up who we are. That's the fun of it too. I did get my happy ending eventually. I met my love of my life the old-fashioned way, in person, at work. She too doesn't like dogs or ironing. Thus, that's the tale of the journalist Liz Mosley with regard to online dating. And notice that she has ended up finding her match not through online dating, but in the traditional way, whereby you can actually get to know what a person actually is, that you can take your time in doing so. Of course, there are still plenty of people that get caught by narcissists by meeting in real life, but you're going to come across far more in an online dating scenario. And even in that short extract of her experiences, there were potentially 2 or 3 narcissists that she engaged with. But of course, it never gets mentioned in articles such as these and is passed off as just the horrors of online dating and the jokes that surround all of that. Those of you that have had greater experience now through my work understand and recognize far earlier, and with a greater degree of accuracy, those that may well be looking to cause a problem for you. However, once again, no information is provided as to what actually is going on, and that's why my work is so valuable and is so important with regard to the realms of online dating. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.